on the Aggie Sports Network. From Learfield, Aggie basketball has been brought to you by Sports Academy and Racket Club. Your club, your results, your life. Zions Bank. For 150 years of helping you succeed, Zions Bank is for you. Ford. Build Ford proud. Also by Stokes. Stokes Trucking. Doing the right thing since 1979. Welcome to Aggie Postgame. From the All-in-One Flooring America radio booth, here's Scott Jerrod.
Utah State punches their ticket into the semifinals with a 70-58 victory over UNLV. Aggies and Rams coming up tomorrow. Eric Hout from the coaching staff, kind enough to join us. And, Coach, they never make it easy on you, do they?
No, they don't. But, got to give our guys a ton of credit. It was a really physical game. We told them that, beforehand, that we're going to have to win the physicality and we're going to have to win on the glass. And we out-rebounded them 41-37, gave up too many offensive rebounds, but in the second half did a great job around the basket, contesting twos at the rim without fouling, and then grabbing those loose ball rebounds. So just really proud of our guys' effort and our resolve in that second half.
You talk about the rebounding. Off air, I talked with you. Felt like the bigs were getting out-toughed. I mean, that's just how you call it in the first half. Talk about the difference. What was said in the locker room, PG version, and
you can go PG-13.
No, Scotty, PG for our listeners, and then how they responded.
Yeah, they had 29 points at the half. They shot 26% from the field, 12% from three, but they were 14 for 15 from the free throw line, and I think they had 8 or 9 offensive rebounds. So we just told these guys, hey, man, if we can do a good job trying to keep them off the free throw line, contesting shots at the rim with a strong chest and good wall-ups, and then obviously grabbing those rebounds, we'll have a really good chance in the second half.
It kind of felt similar to the game here in Las Vegas against UNLV, where they had a bunch of offensive rebounds, and they just kind of hung in there and then made that last run down the stretch to get the win here in Las Vegas. And I got to imagine your guys were aware of that, knowing that, hey, we got to put the finishing touches. We got to finish this, because even as shorthanded as they are, they're certainly dangerous.
No, they're definitely dangerous. And, they're a tough matchup for us. They play 4 guards. They're all drivers. They got a big inside that's really physical, that really, he's kind of a throwback big in Cherry. Like, he knows how to seal. He does up and unders. Like, he can really score around the basket. We were really concerned with that prior to the game. We held him to 3 points, which was a tremendous effort by our guys. Really did a good job with our double teams when they threw it inside. But, this time of year, your guys got to step up. And Ian and Mason, Ian had foul trouble, and you look at the box score, he had 17 points. He drew 6 fouls. He had 6 rebounds. He had some huge traffic rebounds in that second half. So Ian played really well. Mason played really well. Tucker Anderson, some big shots in the first half. Carson Templin just battling. He's 6'6". He's giving up 4 inches and probably 40 pounds, but he's just working his butt off in the post. We got contributions up and down the box score from guys, and, it was definitely a team win.
Carson could be 6'9" with an afro, I think.
His hair's thinning, though.
Good pull.
Yeah.
Hey, no, you point out, guys, it's funny. Tucker Anderson, Tucker has had some big games, and then, candidly, there's been a number of games that he hasn't been involved in. It's funny because I've always said the dude's going to show up in, like, the quarterfinals or the semifinals. But, 3 for 5, but they came at points in the game in that first half where you guys were really having a hard time getting points. Talk about that a little bit.
No, it's huge. And that's what you need in March. You need different guys to step up. And you're right, we were going through some scoring droughts in that first half. I think we had like 16 points in like the first 6-7 minutes, and then it felt like we were stuck on 16 forever. But Tucker Anderson hit some huge shots, and they weren't just wide open shots. They were big, contested, yeah. And those were huge. Those really gave us a spark and a lift at the end of the first half, including Dex's 3.
Huge.
Yep, huge, to give us a 7-point cushion. I think that gave us a little bit of momentum going into the second half.
But even plays that really don't show up much on a stat sheet, but Tucker Anderson chasing down a missed free throw in the corner, kicks it out, gives you a second chance opportunities. And just little plays like that those winning plays that, Dayton diving on the ball or on the court for loose balls and things like that. But certainly a lot of things that you got to clean up too. I know that there were some turnovers down the stretch that I know give you guys some gray hairs.
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes when you have a lead and you're trying to protect it, guys obviously aren't playing as aggressively as they as they usually do, because they're trying to be a little conservative, and they're playing really aggressive, and it seems like the refs are going to swallow the whistle a little bit. But we just have to be stronger with the basketball, right? We're a little too loose with it. I think we inbounded it. There's still 18 seconds on the shot clock. Should have just dribbled it out, tried to make a play. Maybe it was there, maybe it wasn't, but at that point you're playing against the clock, right? Yeah. So we just got to be a little bit better in those situations. And, in conference tournament play and in March, games are going to come down to the last 4 minutes. So, that's definitely something I'm sure Coach will want to show on film and something we can learn from.
Yeah, Mason, talk about Mason. I mean, 15, 9, 6, candidly a little quiet from the standpoint. He was just there always. But it wasn't like an explosion of like 7 points in a row or 8 points in a row. It was just 2 here, 2 there, but huge effort, and still getting to his right hand. I mean, they're sitting on that right hand so heavy, but still finding a way. And I got to give you guys credit as coaches, because you're putting him in some situations that he can still get to it, even though guys are sitting on him, kind of some misdirection stuff.
Yep, we definitely try to get him downhill. That's where he's at his best. But Mason Falslip is a warrior, man.
Yeah.
Give us 15 of those guys. He's going to do whatever it takes to win. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the most athletic guy. But there's nobody else. If there's a loose ball rebound that I'd want trying to get that, the number 12. Because the dude's coming up with it, and he's going to give everything. And if he doesn't, it's not for a lack of effort.
Yeah, there was a point. Sorry, Scotty. There was a point. It was when you guys had lost your momentum. Mason comes into the game. I see all 4 dudes walking back, and the look on their face. I said to Scotty, I don't like that body language. Mason comes in and just starts chirping at him and yelling at him. So totally agree with you. That's what you need. You need leaders. You need guys to yell at guys. Tell them straight up. You got to pick it up. And he knew what was happening, and you look at the stat sheet, he showed up.
He did.
Colorado State coming up tomorrow, late game. Rubber match with the Rams. You got them in Logan. They got you in Fort Collins. I mean, there's nothing you're going to throw out that will surprise them, and vice versa with them to you. I mean, it's just an old-fashioned college basketball dogfight.
Yeah, that's what it has to be, right? Yes, we have to play very aggressive on both ends. I feel like at their place, we were kind of on our heels to start the game, and it just kind of snowballed. They responded to us, jumping on them early at our place. They jumped on us early at their place. We'll come out, we'll prepare, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night.
How difficult is it with the turnaround on another late game coming up tomorrow? I mean, what's your schedule? Are you going to be able to get back here for a shoot-around or no?
I mean, it depends on what time, because sometimes they give you the early times for a shoot-around to be on the main court. We'll have to get back and kind of see, what that time would be. If not, we'll probably go push it back, go a little bit later, let these guys sleep in. But I'd rather play the later game since we played the later game tonight, right?
Yeah.
I know for Saturday it'd be different, but we got to get there first. So I think for us, it's just we're going to get back. We'll get them something to eat, let them get to bed. We'll obviously be, putting our scouting stuff together. We'll be up late tonight, which is what you want to be doing this time of year. You want to be up late at night, man.
It is what you want to be doing, but I'm telling you what, Coach, I know what
you don't
your
miss
life
those days?
is. I'm going to go to bed, okay? I'm going to go to bed, but I admire you, and when you're in it, man, there's nothing better than it, right? When you're in it, nothing better. But you are facing Colorado State, hottest team in the league right now. I mean, probably the last 3 weeks, unbelievable. Nick Clifford, NBA guy, potential NBA guy, but he's on a lot of draft boards.
As he should be.
Yeah,
very good player.
Very good. And not just him. They've got a good supporting cast around him, and Nico does a heck of a job coaching him. I think he's got so much out of that team that I didn't think he was going to get. Talk to me about what you guys are trying to do against Colorado State tomorrow.
I think for them, just for us defensively, we have to do a really good job of being disruptive. They're a rhythm offensive team, a lot of movement, a lot of cutting, so we got to find ways to try to disrupt that rhythm, so to speak. And I think offensively for us, when we played there, it was one of our lowest assist games on the year. So we got to get away from playing iso ball against him, and we got to make them work and get to multiple sides offensively, and then take advantage of mismatches or long closeouts, things of that nature. Once you do move them side to side.
Coach, appreciate it. Good luck tomorrow.
Great.
Hey,
thanks.
Good luck. Go. Great win.
Thank you.
Great win.
Yep.
Thank you.
No such thing.
You were there. You watched the game. Or you heard it all here on KVNU. So now it's your chance to give your thoughts and ask your questions about the action as KVNU Aggie Game Day continues with Aggie Call.
The phone line is 435-753-KVNU. The text line is 435-554-1175. KVNU Aggie Game Day is brought to you by Daryl's Appliance, Advanced Heating and Air, Primrose Home Care and Hospice, Blue Sky Restoration, Advanced Garage Door, The Logo Shop, Advanced Fireplace and Stove, Golden Spike Electric, Alpine Home Medical, S.E. Needham Jewelers, My Mattress, Riverwoods Conference Center, Cash Valley Bank, Aegis Healthcare, Jarrett's Fine Jewelry, Les Olson IT, Adams Wealth Advisors, DD Auto and Salvage, LSS Insurance Agency, Cafe Sabor, The Sportsman. It's KVNU Aggie Call with J.D. Walker and Stockton Jukes.
I actually don't know how to open up this Aggie call. You hit
the button, your face just goes blank.
Welcome to Aggie Call on KVNU 1021 FM, 610 AM, and around the world to Aggie fans at kvnutalk.com. That is KVNU Logan. As we're approaching midnight here, it's 28 degrees, and the Aggies put away the Runnin' Rebels in Las Vegas, 70-58. Mason Falslev may be the mayor here in Cache Valley, but I tell you what, he is Mr. Las Vegas tonight. He put it on him tonight. 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 15 points. Stockton Jukes, before I get your thoughts on that real quick as we click over midnight here, shout out to Corey Walker. He better be asleep right now. He's turning 18 years old here today on Pi Day. So another one of the Walker kids hits 18. And, man, as soon as we're done here with Aggie Call, the U-Haul will be backed up to his room and we'll just get out. No.
Only 7 more years so you can rent your own car.
Yeah.
So exciting.
But Mason tonight, man, Mr. Las Vegas on the Las Vegas Strip doing it.
Oh, my gosh. Player of the game for me by far. I know Ian outscored him by a little bit, but there were a couple moments that I was getting frustrated with Ian, just some of the passing decisions in that second half and some of the fouls too. We'll talk about the fouls in a second here, but Mason with those 15 points, a rebound away from a double-double, 2 offensive rebounds, 7 defensive, 6 assists when the Aggies as a team only had 12, and only the 1 turnover, only the 1 personal foul, and 2 steals on 36 minutes of play. That's a dog. That's a guy whose motor is running.
With how aggressive he was, that's kind of shocking with how kind of foul happy things were. 1 personal foul for Mason.
And that's
27 for the Aggies, 16 for the Rebels. We're looking at 43 total fouls. And I think the end of the game was extended by like 2.5 hours by the officials. But you did have a good point. There was a lot of slap ball going on.
Yeah, and that's the thing is with Mason, he's very, what's the word I'm looking for? He's very accurate on defense. He's very controlled and kind of gets to where he needs to be. He doesn't over lean. He doesn't overbite on some like little shows that you'll get or on some ball fakes that you'll get from guys. And that's where a lot of our defenders, especially Dexter and Ian tonight, were getting beat. Is they were thinking they were seeing windows to reach in. They would slap guys on the arm, hug them around the waist, get tangled up in the arms just because they're being a little too aggressive. You got to take what's given to you, but you cannot force them to give things to you because you'll just get called for fouls. Only reason this game was nearly as close as it was is because UNLV shot 37 free throws. They were 24% from the field. They made 29 free throws, and they only made 13 from the field.
Oh, man.
And then they were 3 for 20 from 3.
I think you kind of knew what the tone of the game was going to be when Cherry picked up those 2 real quick fouls. And then, of course, we all had an early cardiac episode in the Aggie family when we thought Ian Martinez had 3 fouls, but then the announcers
they Nelly Joseph Jr. him and gave one of his fouls to someone else. So it was 0783. It was funny or not so funny the moment we thought that Martinez had 3 fouls early before CBS fixed their mistake. I think it might have been a scorer's table mistake too, where they put it down in the wrong column or something like that. That does happen, but turned out to be good that wasn't early trouble for Ian. I'm torn on what Calhoun said about I'll let guys play with 2 fouls in that kind of situation because you want them to be smart, but when they're being so demonstrably not smart, you've got to rein them in a little bit. So I'd like to see that get adjusted. But I did like what Eric Hout was saying in that post-game bit about you've got these guys kind of throwing the ball around, looking at each other, palms to the sky. You put Mason and he starts chirping at them and getting them back in line. That's what you need. You need that kind of accountability from your own guys, and you need someone who's, enough of a leader and has enough respect for his teammates and from his teammates to be able to go out there and yell at them for a little bit if they're going to throw the ball around like they were. It was one of the biggest things I said in the pregame is you've got to take care of the ball, and you cannot just throw it around when you get panicked and when you get trapped. That's exactly what they did for a lot of that second half, and that's why they couldn't run away with it like they should have.
We're talking about the Aggies' big win over the Rebels in Las Vegas at the quarterfinal of the Mountain West Championship, 70-58. Moving on tomorrow to play Colorado State. Tip-off here locally in Cache Valley will not happen until 10 o'clock tomorrow night. It's KVNU Aggie Game Day tipping off at 9 o'clock. Stockton, I'm going to have you run down the stats for the starters and the bench real quick. Going to try to find Coach Calhoun's postgame presser. Jason Walker and I communicating. There's a little bit of a problem there at the Thomas Mack. So we'll try to pull up that interview and get you Coach Calhoun's postgame thoughts. But if you'd like to sound off, it's open right now, 435-554-1175. That's 554-1175 for the text line, 435-753-KVNU. That's 753-5868 for the phone line. And we'll be here as long as you guys want to talk, but I'll see if I can't get Coach Calhoun's stuff, and we may wrap this up since we're going to pack it all in and do it in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, we'll be back with you in, 21 hours, a little less than. So, yeah. All right, taking a look here. The two things that stand out for me is Ian's the only guy as a starter who's negative in the plus-minus column, and that comes from those turnovers and those 4 fouls. For a guy who's so proficient at scoring and for a guy who really knows what he's doing on the basketball court, there are times where defenses have made him look clueless this season. I was not happy with some of the passes he was making in the second half. And look, we all love Ian Martinez to death. I think that was the most painful part of senior night last week, was seeing him play his final game in the Spectrum. That being said, he needs to be a lot better in those situations. He needs to take care of the basketball, stop doing whatever he was doing. As soon as he picks up a double team anywhere around the elbow or when he's trying to drive into the key, he'll just kind of throw the ball around to where he thinks someone's supposed to be, and usually it gets picked off. And then whatever that floater from Dexter was at the end of the game, I hope I never see that again. But yeah, Ian with 17 points and 6 rebounds. That's good. Offensive output. He had 2 offensive rebounds, which were big. And Utah State, you got to give that team as a whole credit. They did such a better job on the glass in the second half and went from a pretty sizable deficit on rebounding to, I think they won the rebound battle by 4. So that's a good turnaround. That's a good adjustment that they made. Dex only had 3 points and 4 fouls. Wasn't a good shooting night for him. He did have 3 rebounds, but not a whole lot out of Akano. And then Mason with the 15 points. Obviously talked about him already. Dayton had 7, 1 for 4 from the field, but 5 for 6 from the free throw line. 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 fouls, and 3 turnovers from him, including some just really poor passes in the second half. He and Ian in particular, I think, were just kind of not on the same page. And there was at one point, like 6 minutes left in the game, where they threw it along the baseline and it kind of just went through Dayton's hands. And Ian and Dayton are both looking at each other, shrugging like, what are you doing? And neither one of them knew what the other guy was doing. So those are just little wrinkles that you got to iron out. But again, there's no such thing as an ugly win in March. I know a lot of people say that, and it is true. You get a win in March, you move on, you're happy. UNLV is going home today. They're not going to play basketball unless they get invited to the NIT. We're moving on. We got a game to think about tomorrow, and there's a lot of things that you can get hung up on tonight, and there's a lot of things that Calhoun is going to get nitpicky about in the next 21 hours. That being said, those guys need to go eat. They need to rest, and then they'll worry about it tomorrow because they got a game to play tomorrow, and this is what March is. You win it, and you move on.
All right, looking ahead to tomorrow's schedule. Tomorrow night, tip-off for KVNU Aggie Game Day going to be at 9 o'clock here, and then tip-off time for the game going to be up at 10 o'clock, and that's against Colorado State. One text here, 9315. If you've seen what you say is wrong with the two teams, no need to call that many fouls in the game on both sides. Let the two teams play. I think there was a little bit in that. I could see a little bit playing, but as you kind of touched on, Stockton, there was a lot of slap hands.
Yeah, they were out of control on defense some of the time. And look, there's been an emphasis to get more physical on defense, which I appreciate, and I've been vocal about the fact that I don't think this team has the size to compete with some more I don't know, sizable bigs in the league. We've seen it a couple times with like Nelly Jr. Joseph and even with Bear Cherry the first time we were in Vegas, but Utah State has got to be physical without being sloppy and without giving the other team 37 free throws. Because there's a difference between being physical and applying pressure and just playing whack a guy. It's like old church ball rules. If the guy's got a free lane to the basket, you go foul him. No free layups in church ball. But it's that kind of sloppy defense, and they've got to clean it up because you cannot give Colorado State that many free throws tomorrow. Nate Clifford's going to score a ton of points. You can't give him free looks at the stripe.
Yeah, he scored 25 points with 14 rebounds against UNR.
Colorado State's been one of the hottest teams, not just in the league, but in the country for the last 4 weeks. And we saw that firsthand 2 weeks ago. So they've got to be prepared to play a very sharp game of basketball, and we cannot see the kind of sloppiness we saw on defense in the first half and on offense in the second half. Because if they're going to throw away possessions like they did late in the second half, they're going to lose that game by 20.
I mean, you look at the final score of the game, and you're happy with the outcome, but you understand you played a gassed UNLV team. Mm-hmm. I mean, it showed towards the end. You saw some frustrating stuff and things that they were going on, but I don't think UNLV did not have their best two players or best player out there, and he elevates everybody else. Nate Clifford went off today against the Wolfpack, and they gave kind of a defensive challenge to them, held it pretty close, but Colorado State able to muscle away. I'm a little hesitant for this physical matchup coming tomorrow to see how it's going to be. Do you think we're going to see more even fare for the Aggies? You know, Coach talked about how in the first matchup it just kind of they got out and it just snowballed. Do you think the Aggies are going to be prepared for this in less than 24 hours, Stockton? They'll be playing actually right now. We'll be wrapping up probably tomorrow night, and we'll know whether the Aggies are playing for the Mountain West Championship.
Yeah, I mean, we are going to be tired. Colorado State's going to be tired too because their game finished right before ours did, and that Nevada game, you know, it spread out at the end, but it was physical. So those guys are going to be tired too. I mean, this is the nature of tournament basketball. This is just how it goes. So going forward, the you know, when did you play, what time did you play, unless it's like a 10 a.m. versus 10 p.m. game, it doesn't really matter that much. So I think it's going to be really fascinating to see if they're up for the physicality that they're going to get tomorrow. And we had another good point come in from 92-27. Colorado State's the best free throw shooting team in the Mountain West, 79% from the stripe.
You give them 27 fouls, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you give them 37 shots at the line, they're going to come away with 33 points.
And I think I think 58-22. You're the first one in for the Cafe Sabor score prediction for tonight.
Yeah,
appreciate
that's dedication.
That. Yeah, we appreciate that. 6-0-2-1. They have to play 10 times better and not make stupid turnovers and fouls. I agree.
That's basically what I've been rambling about for the last 10 minutes is you cannot throw the ball away like you did for the last 8 to 10 minutes of that game, and you cannot give them 37 free throws.
There was a point when we were almost up by 20, and that I feel like that should have been the kill shot.
We should have won this game by 24. For a team that shot 13 for whatever from the field and 15% from three, the fact that more than half of their or more than double of their made shots came from the free throw line instead of from the field, and not to mention they didn't make they were 0 for 10 and 2 for 15 on their last 10 and 15 field goals respectively. They didn't hit a field goal for the last 6 minutes of that game. We just kept throwing the ball away and wasting possessions. So you're going to have to be a lot cleaner, a lot sharper, and a lot more engaged in the game because it looked like those guys were getting kind of lackadaisical and just zoning out and kind of stepping back. Now, part of that is you want to protect some of your stamina. You want to protect some of your energy, some of your body for tomorrow when at that point you kind of have a feeling that you're going to be playing. It's just you cannot be sloppy. You've got to be smart about how you conserve energy. To me, it's you got to break the press, and then you can go sit in your end of the floor for 20 seconds and catch your breath. But you can't just throw the ball willy-nilly across your defensive baseline and give the other team a possession underneath their own basket.
Absolutely not. I feel like this is the last game. Like UNLV, we knew that they were having some problems, the injury problems, the stuff. They were going to be gassed. They're playing a back-to-back games.
Every single game we play from here on out is going to be the hardest game of basketball we played this year.
And there's
no way around it.
You got to execute. You got to perform at a high level, and you've got to be efficient. I mean, it just has to happen. Think
about it. We either have to play. So tomorrow we have to play a team that beat us by the worst that we got beat in the regular season. If we win that game, Saturday afternoon we have to play either Boise State, who we also lost to on the road, or New Mexico, who swept us this season. And then we go to March Madness, where we play. We're probably going to be a 9 or 10 seed, which means we're playing higher seeds for the entire time we're in that tournament.
And if I'm doing my math correctly, we're 2-4 against the
2-3 against Quad 1.
No, 2-4 against the teams we have to face in the tournament. Boise, 1-1 with Boise, 0-2 with New Mexico, and 1-1 with Colorado State. And I don't like when those last couple of losses came. I mean, the UNLV loss came back in the day, but they kind of rectified it tonight. I think we got one more coming in here on the text line.
83-87. You guys do realize that those officials were awful tonight. Yeah, we were sloppy, but that didn't help either. The officials were not great, but they weren't awful. We've seen a lot worse. It was sloppy defense. I kind of agree with you. Like, it wasn't the best officiating. I certainly don't think Carson should have fouled out on the foul that they called. That should have been a clean Mason Falslave steal, and they just called it a foul on Carson. There was another one on Drake where he's playing solid defense. The dude throws the ball out of bounds, and they called a reach on Drake when he didn't touch him. There were a couple like that, but the majority of the fouls that were called against Utah State were just sloppy physicality fouls.
9227 here on Aggie Call with Stockton Jukes and J.D. Walker in this late night here in Cache Valley. Be careful if you're driving out there. And to those listening at kvnutalk.com, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Obviously, the game will dictate how we play defense, but do you think we'll see more man defense against Colorado State?
I think you will probably – it's going to go one of two ways. You're either going to be able to – play that zone the way that it's designed to be played, and you're going to be able to close out the shooters quickly. Or if Colorado State is able to kind of find some of those outside looks and shoot the ball from outside like they did in that game in Fort Collins, you're going to have to switch to man a lot quicker, and you're going to have to stay in the faces of their main shooters. I liked what they were doing with Bear Cherry towards the end of the game, where they would double him anytime that ball would come into the inside. I think with Neek Clifford, you almost have to play like a 2-2 zone and dedicate a man just to be on Neek Clifford and follow him around. Make sure that he is always accounted for, and then you have help defense in these other zones on defense, but you've got to be very cognizant of, closing out at least one, ideally two people on their big scorers, because Neek Clifford, you look at the scouting report, that's the name that pops off the page in double font, bold italics, everything, that compared to everything else on that scouting report. But you still have to be careful that you kind of cut off some of his outlets as well, because if you focus too much on Neek, the other four guys will have a lot of space to score.
Absolutely. A couple of quotes coming in, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here on Aggie Call. From Coach Calhoun, we're going to get a really, really good big man in the transfer portal. Was very complimentary of how Templin and Galarazzi battled in the paint, and said that Isaac Davis will play tomorrow too.
Interesting.
I like really, really good big man. 7'2" with a nasty streak from Eastern Europe. That likes hookah and
has an affinity for elbows.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here tonight. We're not going to get Coach Calhoun's postgame due to some technical stuff.
We do have two more texts. So
okay, go ahead. Yeah, hit them.
92-27. Obviously, the game will dictate how we play defense. Oh yeah, we already read that one. 26-97. UNLV offensive game plan: run hard to the basket and make contact. Yes, no, that was a lot of the issue for the fouling. However, I will say you've got to adjust defensively, and you've got to be smarter than that, where you gave them the contact they were looking for every time, and you just kind of you went up sloppy, and you gave them what they were generating, officials are always going to lean on the side of the offensive player there. So you got to be super careful about that. And then 93-15, why do they not let students in the lower bowl for this game? That's where the big money tickets are.
Yeah, that's true. Even though most of them were kind of empty. And
the student tickets
like
they comp to the universities are going to be upper bowl because they lose less money.
Wow.
It's all capitalism, baby.
For Stockton Jukes, I'm J.D. Walker. That's going to wrap it up for us here on KVNU Aggie Call. We'll be back with you in, probably 19 hours and some change. And we'll have more on the Aggies win on the KVNU Morning Show with Will and Craig. And I'll be moseying on in there as soon as I wake up. Thanks for letting us do radio in the greatest place on earth for the greatest people on earth. And the A is blue tonight. Go Aggies.
This Utah State broadcast has been a presentation of News Talk KVNU and the Cache Valley Media Group, the heritage home for the Aggies.